Hello and welcome to the Damascus Encounter. My name is Femi Akintayo. On the Damascus Encounter, we relive people's personal journeys and their encounter with Jesus, how they traveled, what happened, and the points where Jesus turned things around. And on the program today, we have someone very special. I have with me Pastor Theodore Dickson. Pastor Theodore Dickson is a lecturer and a pastor, Religious Studies Department here at Babcock University. Dr. Theodore, you are welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Can you open us a little bit into who Theodore Dickson is? A little bit about your background.
Thank you. I came from a family of originally 8 children. We lost one, 5 boys and 2 girls, and then our parents. So a family of 9.
Okay.
And so we were relatively not rich, not too poor, but just there.
Somehow comfortable?
Well, not really. Not really. Dad and Mom, they tried.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just there.
That's good. Okay, so tell us a little bit about your background, talking about your religious experience, your dad, your mom, their Christian faith.
Okay, we have a situation here where my father was an only son. He had just one sister. They lost their parents quite early, and he grew up a Catholic. My father was a Catholic. I use my father was because he's late now.
All right.
Yeah, and my mom, a Seventh Adventist, from a Seventh Adventist family. And so both of them got married. And so we find a situation where, because is, cultural beliefs that, a woman does not have a church. So whatever is the church of the man becomes the church of the woman upon marriage. So we find a home where on Saturday, because my mother doesn't want to stop being a Seventh Adventist, she would go to church. And then on Sunday, the family also goes to the Catholic church. Yeah.
So was there any kind of confusion?
Oh, of course, you know that that kind of thing already in the mind, you begin to struggle. Who is in charge here? It didn't go quite well because my father received a lot of pressures from, the community. How can your wife decide for you what to worship? She's married. So at one time or the other, there were issues. But for us, we continued to manage these two sides until we were around 4 or 5 years, myself. But one thing that happened was that because my dad did not always stay with us, he was a steward. He worked with the white men, and many a time he's on offshore, so he comes home once in a month. And so it is when he's around, then we can talk about how to do the Catholic thing, that early. But somehow, I remember that one of those days we were ready for church, and my father just picked a bucket full of water and poured on my mother and said, "God punish you and your church," And all of us were there, little boys, we just cried. But by the time I was in secondary school, my dad walked into the church. He walked into the Seventh Adventist church. Because even though he is the head of the family and we had struggles with his position, we never abused him, never insulted him. Okay. My mother never insulted him. So he saw that relatively, as children, we were obedient. As wife, there was cooperation. We were doing well in our studies. So it was like, what exactly is it that these people would go to do in church? So he got baptized, I think. I don't know whether two of us who got baptized first, between me and him, in the 80s.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So, as you look back, those days, because if the woman, a woman does not have a religion of her own, so she's married to a man, the wife naturally takes the religion after the husband. So what about the children? The children also were supposed to naturally follow the father or the pathway of the mother.
Well, you know that from where I stand today, I better understand the influence of a mother in the life of the children. I think my mother was privileged, and we too, because my father did not always live with us. I tell you, if he were always present, the crisis would have been severe. Okay, so because my mother was with us and she was down-rooted in Seventh Adventism, it was easier for her to take us to church, and so we followed after her, knowing that when that comes, everybody knows what will happen.
What to do.
But at some point also, he gave up the fight. He gave up the fight, so you choose what you want to do. But that was quite early.
So let me just ask this: you had the privilege, as it were, to taste from both sides of the. At that young, tender age, did you, the children, did you at any time feel, after all said and done, it's better here than here, or it's more interesting here than there?
Well, I would say that for me as a person, I wouldn't know what my siblings will have to say. Growing up, I loved the Seventh Adventist Church because somehow my mother was, my mother sings, she still sings, close to 80 years old. So I loved music, we grew up singing, so we loved it. But Catholic Church is also very organized. So I would say that beyond my mother taking us to the Seventh Adventist Church, I personally had a decision to make on whether I want to be, a Seventh Adventist or not. It wasn't just so much about following to church, because there is still something behind you that tells you that, that brings a point of comparison between what used to happen, even though we were very small. But of course, your father is your hero. That's church, that thing. But we got entangled with the SDA church, and because mom has great influence, and that's it.
Okay, so now let's talk about your educational background. So in all of this, did you attended public schools or Christian schools? Yeah,
we attended public schools. There is a community primary school in my village that we all attended.
Okay.
Incidentally, it was located at the location where we have the Catholic Church, because the Catholic Church had great influence in my village.
In the community.
Yeah, but it's not a Catholic school anyway, it's a community school.
Okay.
That's at the primary school level.
Okay.
And then at the secondary school level, I personally schooled outside of home.
As outside the community?
Outside my immediate community. No, okay. Within the state.
Okay.
But outside my immediate community.
All right. Okay, so now if we look at your growing up and eventual focus in life, which aspect, what part of your parental upbringing and tutelage that you got, which one had the strongest influence on you?
I would say that I am a disciplinarian today, because my both parents are disciplinarians.
Okay.
Okay, and so you don't mess around with either of them. You don't try it. But because my dad was a Catholic, and Catholicism, you don't have to be so strict with religion. So it goes that you could drink alcohol. And because my father worked with white men, okay, he comes home with this kind of royalty. In the village, people see that, oh, this man works with white men. So when he comes, Our house becomes a center point for people to gather because, you know, he comes home with all kinds of, you know, hot drinks, whiskey, brandy.
Okay.
Talk about 1,000 pipers.
This is real alcohol.
Yeah, Heinekens. You know,
Wow.
those very strong, you know, drinks that are not Nigerian made. So when it comes, the people in the community, the brothers and sisters within the community, we gather because they know that his name is Dickson. They call him Didi. So everybody knows that Didi is around. And when Didi is around, something good is happening here.
Did other children in the community envy you?
Yeah, somehow, because we live like white people in my community. We live because my dad will make the best of suits for you. So he patterned his life around that of, you know, the Western, the white men that he associated with. So,
Okay.
so we had a very neat, you know, environment to live in, and we must have to dress neat. But, you know, we also had to, you know, when your father takes a shot of alcohol and drinks, and then he gives you to drink. So we learned drinking alcohol from him.
So you started drinking,
and there was nothing wrong about it.
Wow.
You know, I started drinking alcohol as early as I can remember. As early as I can remember.
That's interesting.
If it's 2 years old, well, that's what I can remember. Maybe it happened before that time.
But you didn't take it as if it was water, it was just
No,
whenever he was drinking.
No, but you know that he comes once in a month, although he doesn't come every other month. But the thing is, when he comes, and it comes as if it's a thing of pride.
There was plenty to drink.
You know, so you drink it, and of course, when your hero gives you, and you know that for him, nothing is wrong with it. So
It feels good.
If your dad thinks it's not bad, so who else says it's bad? So you take it.
That's interesting. So, you did some drinking.
Man?
You did a lot of drinking.
Yeah,
And
well, the thing is that it wasn't just, you know, I can say that I lived with him much later in life, okay? It wasn't because he has a corner where there is a, you know, alcohol bar for him to drink, but I would say that he was a seasonal, you know, do I call him, you know, alcohol person. And so that's what happened to us too. We know that when he's coming,
since it is when he comes home, you get to drink.
Oh yeah,
anyway.
So.
Okay, so we come back and talk some more on this drinking thing and some other things we probably got from him, part of the upbringing and how it impacted your life. All right, we'll be back after a short break to continue on our discussion with Dr. Theodore Dickson, who has been sharing with us on the Damascus encounter some of his experiences growing up in a Catholic Adventist home kind of setup and how this impacted on his life. Don't go away, we'll be right back. Welcome back. And it's still the Damascus encounter, where we share and talk about personal life stories, journeys, and how Jesus comes into the picture and you have that turnaround. On the program today, before we went on break, we've had Pastor Theodore Dickson, who has been sharing his own experience and how growing up was for him, and the home front, how the Seventh-day Adventism and Catholicism had a blend that shaped his life, sort of. So, Pastor, let's talk about this aspect of drinking. Okay, so you talked about the fact that there was nothing wrong with drinking. So how much of drinking did you do? Was it just the occasional drinking, that is when daddy came home, or did this graduate into you having to drink just on your own growing up?
You know, you never can tell what impact the things you see, especially at home, can, you know, influence you. I left home quite early for secondary school. Like I said, I did school in the village.
Okay.
So before my 11th year, I was already in the secondary school, and I lived away from home. And then I got to mix up with my friends.
Okay.
And I remember particularly. Like I said, I never took money to buy a bottle of alcohol. I didn't do that till today. But when the opportunity provides itself, you could just see that that thing that has become, a pattern comes up. And when you were introduced to alcohol or any other kind of thing, it becomes a part of you. I remember sometime in, that was if I'm not mistaken, that should be 1988. Okay. When one of the prominent Nigerians buried his mother, the former CBN governor, that's Paul Oguma. We attended the wakekeeping, and it was a free-for-all thing. So if you have the power to drink, just drink. Don't break the bottles. Don't take it away.
Free drinks?
So just free.
How much did you
And I remember taking 12 bottles.
That's
one
whole carton of beer?
Just free drink.
Overnight or?
Yeah, it was a wakekeeping. Just drink. And I finished and walked away.
Free of charge?
Yeah, not just free of charge, but not stumbling, not dizzy or anything, because it was just nothing. If you have started drinking as early as you can remember, so what is that?
So it was just part of life. It was normal.
Yeah, that's one of those encounters I have had before.
So when if we look at that, also that upbringing that you had, mommy's influence, the teachings. So when you did the drinking, did you at any time feel, hey?
Every time. I grew up having to battle between what I have learned in church that is correct and this part of me that is not right. I knew that, okay, let me say I grew up to understand by myself now, from teachings in church at the Seventh Adventist Church, that drinking alcohol is not good. Okay, Proverbs chapter 20 verse 1, wine is a mocker and a strong drink is not good for my body. But something else tells me, look, your dad gave you to drink, so nothing is wrong with it. And if I see it, there is a kind of taste and a kind of interest that arouses, and it just feels good to take it. And then after you feel guilty that, I think I need to stop. Well, as a secondary school boy, I didn't feel that strongly until I went to be by myself. Okay, and as I matured in life, I realized that, especially after my baptism, I told myself, I don't need to do this anymore. But one time it happened. I was in the shop when I was learning as a patent medicine dealer, one of the nights like that in the December period. And some guys were drinking outside, and the way young people behave, they say, oh, you see, this one said you can't finish a bottle of, they're looking for somebody who can finish a bottle of brandy without putting the bottle down. And I was just at the shop.
It up all
just put it up and finish it and throw the bottle. And they were just, they were just arguing and arguing outside. I was in the shop, and I said, something just said, look at this ones. Look at these ones. So
did you take the challenge?
I stepped outside. I said, what's wrong with you people? They said, look at this one, cannot drink. I said, look, it's simple. I can teach you how to do it. And before you know it, I took the bottle and I put it up, put it in my mouth like I was drinking water, and finished the bottle and threw it away. All of them were amazed.
And you walked away?
And such youthful exuberance. And then later, the Spirit said, but you said you're not going to take alcohol anymore. What is the problem? I felt so bad thereafter. I didn't like it, but it has happened. And somehow inside me, naturally, I don't like to be challenged. I take a challenge. If you challenge me, well, we can go for a contest.
You have to show the person.
Yes, so that struck me, and unfortunately, it was for the negative. Well, the the final stroke that broke, the camel's back was one time. I can't remember what happened anymore, but I know that we got drinking with a friend, and it was a mix. It was a mix of alcohol and soft drink. And that
alcohol,
yeah,
strong drink,
you get a small stout, and then you put some maybe something like Martina inside. It's a mix. So just fun. But that day, after drinking, I vomited. And naturally, I don't vomit. So when I looked at it and saw how it smelled, it was so disgusting. I felt so guilty, and I was so stupid. I looked so stupid.
It repelled you.
And it was like the Spirit of God was just beating me all around. Can you do this to yourself? Even if you didn't choose to drink alcohol, but you can walk away. And I said to myself, it won't happen again. It won't happen again.
That is very interesting.
And I want to thank God that it hasn't happened again. It hasn't happened.
So the needing to stop at this point, would you attribute it to, yes, you vomited, you threw up, and then it repelled you. It's like you saw the ugliness of the whole situation. And so in your mind, as you reflect and look back at this, would you say that was a kind of divine thing? It happened, and then because you had struggled with this for so long, I don't want to do it, you find yourself getting back to it. So at this point, how did you look at it as you look back at that incident?
I must say that in the place where I did my business, not forgetting the fact that this was not, something that happened every day. Okay. It will always happen. Like you are taking a walk in your walk with God, you have got it, and all of a sudden you nosedive. So each time I nosedived in that area, and maybe in any other area of my life, I didn't feel happy. Because at the end of an encounter, you make a commitment to God. I have always made commitment to God because, look, in my environment, they call me church and church. Because as a chemist man, my business does not stop me from participating in any church activity. Okay. In fact, because I had my business in a residential area, business flourished in the evenings. But now, when the evening comes and I have to go to church, I will shut down and go to church. So it wasn't as if I was trying to become, a Christian. I was already a Christian, but I had a problem. This thing has taken root, and so I needed to walk away from it. But as I tried to walk away, I find myself at one time or the other going backwards. So for me, it was like, look, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing this. And I have prayed to God to help me. And suddenly, for me that day, it was an answered prayer.
And it did.
Yeah.
So looking back, did anyone get into the routine of drinking, whether regularly or every once in a while, as a result of associating with you, or it was just you alone?
Yeah, it was just me.
Okay. Your siblings, did they also drink? I mean, beyond what was tasted at home when they grew up independent on their own?
Yeah, I can say of one or two. They struggled with it too.
Okay. Yeah. But everyone was baptized into the church?
Of course, we were baptized much later. We were baptized into the church.
That's interesting. And I just want to say that at the end of the day, we have a situation whereby how would you tie that Bible verse, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's grown, he will not depart from it, with your experience?
Incidentally, that was the passage I worked on my PhD.
That's interesting.
Yeah, my PhD thesis was just based on Proverbs 22 verse 6. And I can say that, training up a child, parents should train up their children positively, because when the Bible says when he is old, he will not depart from it, is because whatever training we give can be for a lifetime. And so when that training goes negative, when what the child is copying is negative, it could also go for a lifetime. And that is why I can say that I thank God that in the midst of my family, there was the other side. That other side was my mother insisting, on the positive side, taking us to church. My father's, traditional and regular thing affecting us, but there was something pulling us on the other side.
There was a stronger force.
Stronger force. And then God, who knew the future and knows what will become of me eventually, helped me to, overcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Theodore, for sharing your experience on the program today, the Damascus Encounter. Of course, many times we talk about our encounter with Jesus, and too many times we think the Damascus Encounter is when you actually turn around and become a pastor. But this story of Dr. Theodore, Pastor Theodore, continues in the next episode of our program, where we actually come into exactly how he encountered Jesus and took the decision for ministry. But for now, we just want to thank you for being a part of the program today. My name is Femi Akintayo, and I want to assure you we'll be back the next time to complete the story. God bless you.